Hello YouTube, Infinite Magicraid community, Gandalf here. Today I'll be providing a guide for you on selection of emblem. This will be part of my game guide series about game fundamentals, and hopefully from today's video you no longer have to think very hard about, what are the emblems I should pick for my hero or a new hero that comes out. It's like, where do I get the best emblem set for this hero? I think having these fundamental knowledge will help you pick the right emblem depending on what role the hero will fulfill in your team. So let's get started. I kind of color coded um, it on the right hand side, and hopefully it will help you kind of have an easier time understanding which emblems to particularly pick. In general, we classify our heroes as either a damage dealer or some sort of a support. And for damage dealers, you kind of want to go down the attack tree for sure, depending on whether it's direct damage dealer or dot-based damage dealer. Then, if you're comfortable with the survivability of your hero, you can pick the second tree in support and picking up some of the best in slot emblems, um, or if you worry about survivability of your hero and you're early on in the game, you might benefit from picking up some stuff in the support tree to help, sorry, to pick up something on the defense tree to help with its survivability. Now, having said that, um, let's go over, what are the best go-to picks for each type of hero that you'll have. Let's start out with some of the best in slot for all heroes. So if you're going down the attack tree, which means it's probably a damage dealer, regardless of the type of damage dealer you have, these are the two emblems that you really will pick up 100% of the time. There's no question about it. The first one here is the Strength Build-Up emblem, and you get up to 4.5 additional uh, damage. So it's a straight up 1.05 damage multiplier to your dots, to your direct damage, to everything you do, straight up. As long as you have a buff on you, and you always, will have a buff on you regardless of the type of content you're doing. So this is a really good emblem to pick up as you go down the street. You have to pick up at least one if you're going down the street. So this is a must pick. The second must pick is this one. This is Brave Enemies. So when you are attacking a target that has more HP than you, you'll be doing additional damage. So you'll be doing up to 6% extra damage. So these things are additive. So add to the previous one. Now you're doing 10.5% damage just picking up these two additional emblems. This condition is almost always satisfied in PvE content because the enemy will always have more HP than you. Okay. Now, if you're going down the support tree, often, if you pick attack, your damage dealers are also going to go down the support tree, or your other heroes, your support, they're also going to probably pick up something in the support tree. The first emblem here in this row is Power of the Shield. In this game, shield is absolutely critical. You're going to have shielders pretty much on every single team. When you have a shield up, you're going to take 6% less damage. This is going to be less dot, less direct damage you're going to be taking. So this is absolutely critical to pick up. The next one here is you get up to 45% speed up to 5 times. So for the first few 5 turns, you're going to be getting, um, uh, sorry, every time when you're getting a buff or inflicting a debuff, which most of your heroes are able to do that, unless you're a direct damage dealer that doesn't leave some sort of buff on yourself or debuff on the enemy. This is kind of useless. But for most part, this is a very useful one to pick up. It's basically 45 free speed, which is a lot from an emblem every single turn. And as long as you keep applying those buffs, so space, even things like Santa, any sort of hero, right? Like you're applying some sort of debuff on the enemy, you're getting more speed. 45 to whatever your speed is, and you're constantly keeping that up. Even Pollen, right? Pollen E1 above, you start with a buff on the entire team. Everybody gets the resist up, so right away you start with 45 extra speed up front, turn 0. So a massive emblem. This is one you pretty much pick. As long as you can do buffs, you definitely want to, or debuffs, you should always pick this one. This is also another best in slot one. This gives you 12% chance of reducing your cooldown by 1 wherever you're casting it. So, this is huge pretty much for any heroes, especially if they have a lower cooldown, like Catherine. This is like allowing you to chain the counter attack back to back, like every 2 turns as opposed to 3 turns. Or things like Mamook that always, have really low cooldown. Like you never have downtime with your taunts. So a very critical um, um, emblem for all heroes to pick on this one. So going down the damage tree for all damage dealers, really we split it by direct damage versus dot damage. For direct damage, just follow the ones that are in red. Usually, I tend to pick critical rate over attack up unless you're comfortable with your gear and you're definitely easily going to hit that 100% crit rate for a direct damage dealer. Otherwise, 4.5 from a stat points perspective, it's harder to get 4.5 than the getting 6% attack. So I will always pick crit damage here. But if you're comfortable with your crit rate, um, go for the attack up. If you're a dot damage dealer, usually just picking straight attack up is worth it a little bit more. These are not really relevant for dot damage dealer. I mean, especially for HP burn, but for attack up, you know, poison. Sorry, sorry, what am I saying? For poison, for bleeds, for burn heroes, you definitely want to pick the attack up because that's part of your damage multiplication there. Next piece up, I would really avoid Berserker Blood because you're taking 9% extra damage for your hero. Um, like that's just unnecessary burden for yourself to try to stay alive, especially in a PvE situation. The only time I can imagine you going for this is in a PvP situation. So sorry, maybe I should have um, included that for PvP selection. Um, Triangle. There we go. That's a little bit more complete. So yes, there are times where you want to use it. Is your guarantee your first turn nuke. This does give a 6% direct damage boost. And you don't think the enemy has a shield, so you're gonna go for Berserker Blood and maybe unexpected attack. That might be a better setup. But realistically, given how many Nordax are out there, you're better off picking Shield Slam. So even this, I would say it's questionable to whenever like it's really rare you will ever pick Berserker Blood. Maybe you're stripping then going to a nuke. It's a very niche situation. So I highly recommend against picking this emblem. For the most part, you want to get the unexpected attack off. You want to get the shield slam. Maybe sometimes you're not. Yeah, you're gonna be able to get full HP a lot of the time. So even in PvE situations, you have a shield up all the time. So unexpected attack is actually going to be satisfied most of the time. So unexpected attack is a great emblem to have. Maybe in PvE, you don't run into shield as often, so maybe that's when you might want to go for the Berserker Blood, provided that you're tanky enough, you think you're always going to survive. The next section is Arrogant. So this is really just a turn one kind of gimmick. 9% additional direct damage dealer. There aren't really that many good picks in this role across the board in general. So yeah, pick the next one for direct damage dealers. Like whenever you kill a target, the next turn you do more direct damage deal. It's more direct damage. PvE situation when you're fighting a boss, these are not going to be applying most of the time. So I mean, but you don't really have that much good options in the other talent in this role anyway. So it's what it is. The last stand is at the start of the turn. A self dot damage is increased. It kind of lasts 5 times, and then afterward that kind of falls off. So it's a little bit of extra dot damage, but it's not that significant. Um, Okay, on to the next row. So we said this one is the most critical one. You always have to pick this one because it's just straight up free extra damage. Doesn't matter if you're doing dot or direct damage. The middle one is kind of like a victory rush. Oh, it is called victory rush. So when you have control conditions, the boss is not going to have control conditions. So it will be more of a wave clearing capability, or in PvE where you land some CCs on the opponent, you do some extra damage. This is the only one that boosts additional direct damage in this role. Not a lot of other good options. You can if you're going for survivability, you can even give this one up for some survivability ones. In the support, there's not much that will help you as a damage dealer, so you might want to pick this. This one, for dots, for targets with a dot debuff, deals 9% extra damage. So this is a must pick for dot damage dealers. So this is one you guarantee want to pick up for your dot damage dealers. The next section here is you do more dot damage in the middle if the target has more than 50% HP, and here, if you're below 50% HP, your direct damage deal goes up by additional 9%. So again, dot direct damage dealer kind of finishing things off. So again, you just pick this one plus one of the other one, depending if you're doing direct damage dealer or dot. Finally, the right one is mastery, left is critical damage. Pretty straightforward what you pick based on direct damage dealing or dot damage. So hopefully, the first tree at least is clear for your damage dealers. Do you want to go with either the red or go with orange, along with picking up the BIS ones in yellow? Now, again, so going down the survivability. So survivability tree, you want to pick these ones. Um, if you're a dot damage dealer and you're comfortable with your survivability, you don't feel like you need some extra, you can go with the effect hit up for dot damage, then pick up the ones in yellow. And then maybe pick up this one if you think you're fast. Because this one actually I would recommend strongly for dot damage dealers because you do get additional 9% effective hit. You're probably going to be faster than the boss because you're likely to bring speed up for yourself, Santa, and slow down the opponent, Santa, so your speed is going to be higher. So you're going to get the additional effective hit. So that's 9 free effective hit right there. Now you're going to satisfy pretty consistently. Or if you're able to, put on some attribute debuff. So keyword attribute debuff. It's not you're going to get more turns with your dots. It's attribute only. So attack up, attack down. Any sort of those heroes that sorry, any of those skills that come with your kit, you might want to consider picking this one up as well. So that kind of help you round off your attacker trees for your attacking heroes. Or if you choose, in the defensive side, I would suggest picking up the defense up. I would suggest, either picking the one in the middle, which reduces the dot damage you take, or the one on the right, you get healed more as an option. Here, if one of your allies dies, you get more, you get a permanent 6% damage reduction. And I find this one, if you're doing the all caster cheese, for example, this would be a nice pickup for 6% damage reduction. The big ones, I think it's actually ones in here, right? And I talked about in this row, you don't really get good solid options. Definitely pick the one in the middle first, because the boss is going to have higher defense than you, unless you're able to defense break it down. So you're not going to be getting, the 4.5% damage reduction most of the time. Pick up the one in the middle though, because you're probably going to be more than 50% of the HP. Usually it's the crit damage from the boss that's going to kill you, so taking 15% less damage off crit is going to be really helpful. So pick Under God's Wing if you want some damage mitigation and survivability. And then finally, this is the one you really want to pick because usually survivability often happens in the first turn. Like the first turn, the boss is going to hit you with a hard skill, things like Grillin, or things like in Faction Abyss, stage 26 and higher. The boss is going to be faster than you for sure. You're going to have to eat a really big hit. So starting out with 9% damage reduction is pretty significant straight up to help you survive. So if survivability issue, this is the key one you want to pick up. as an attacker. So pick up these ones in the tree. So this one, so you got some room. So you pick up the defense, you pick up, maybe reduction to dot, or you get more heals. Maybe pick up, this one for the undergod wing, and pick up the turn one, turn two, turn three damage reduction called grittiness. This one that will really help you with survivability. Otherwise, if you're comfortable with your survivability, go with the support tree. You might be able to get an extra skill off here and there, and do a little bit more damage. So that covers overall your damage dealer tree and how to select the emblems. Then let's talk about your supporters. So your supporters usually are your buffers and debuffers, your healers and your shielders. So usually you will pick a combination of a defense tree plus a support tree. You kind of leave the attack tree out of it. So you usually will go with more perhaps in the support section. So for example, for the healers, there's a few specific ones you want to pick up. You definitely want to pick up the additional healing. So that's the meditation emblem. So this gives you 9% additional heal. You want to pick up this one in the middle here called Pennies from Heaven. So if your allies are less than 50% HP, you're going to heal them a bit extra more. And down here in this one, if they're under control effect, you heal them, 12% extra more. So really, big heals for heroes in trouble, right? And then you probably, most of your healer comes with some sort of buff as well. So you maybe want to pick up the one in the middle here, and then you round it off with blue streak because usually, speed on your support just means more turns, more heals. That's one option. The other option is you could also go with the urgent treatment and getting that 24% heal effect. Heal effect doesn't come easily on your gear because they only come on equipment, and they sometimes they come on they don't come on subs for your artifacts. You could get it on your mark artifact as the main stat. Getting high healing effect is not easy in general. So I mean, not a lot of people run with holy set. I mean, that is an option, but most people, if you can afford it, go for the first aid set for healers. If not, I mean, feather set is always a good option. You do want some additional speed. Speed is, getting those extra turns, right? Because your healers are often your shielders as well. So, in game you use more shielders than healers or pure healers out there, just because the boss in PvE content hits so hard. If you don't have a shield on, you're gonna just get one shot from full HP for the most part in high level content. So really, speed is key. You want to be able to put those shields up before the boss goes so you can start, stabilizing your team. So speed is pretty important. So that's why, blue streak is often the top pick. But if you happen to be comfortable with your speed for whatever reason, you can always, pick up extra HP over here or healing effect. So these are some of the key ones. Then after you pick your key ones for your healers and shielders, you mostly then focus on survivability. Picking up some extra defense, reduce the dot damage taken. Here, in PvP, you might get away with more defense, but always pick Godwing first, and then if you happen to have another one, you can pick this one if you have high defense, a high defense hero. I would even pick up this one for long-term battles because you know you're going to be taking some hits from the boss or from the trash mobs. They're all usually direct damage, so when you get him more than 25%, you get some additional heal back. Now note that this healing back will be affected by your healing effect percentage. So you're going to be able to recover quite a bit of HP back every time you get hit pretty hard. So this now becomes quite relevant in picking it up. You notice that Sacred Wind is a chance to remove non-control debuff from self at the end of the term. So you can remove dots, you can remove debuffs. In general, I think this is probably the most useless one in this tier, so I rarely pick it. I don't recommend you picking it up. The one in the middle says, you restore yourself HP at the beginning of each wave. It's going to be really rare you ever need to do that. You already get a little bit of health back from the waves. If you really rely on this type of healing, probably the content's too hard for you. So usually this is not something that I recommend you wasting picking from this tier either. So hopefully this help you cover, your survivability for the most part in each tree. I mean, the most important ones I kind of highlighted for you in yellow as well. Definitely pick up those ones. And then, the most impactful one in each tier, I would say, you know, um, maybe reduction of dot damage because that's pure straight up reduction. Yes, you can get healed more, but the fact that you actually have to have health to be healed. So really, go for this one. In this tier in the middle, there's really no real good option. For the most part, I mean, one is, you're healing when your allies are dying. When someone dies, usually that's not a good sign in PvE content. Only time it's like all caster cheese, I will pick something like this so that you straight up permanently gain the damage reduction when all caster dies. And then here, the most impactful one is under God Wings because crit hits are what's going to kill you. So, taking less crit damage is very important, and you're going to be more than 50% HP. Um, Turn one damage reduction is key. So, for the first couple of turns, taking less damage will help you stabilize your team. And finally, at the bottom, I forgot to talk about this one. This one is a double-edged sword, tough skin. I would recommend maybe one hero on your team that has the greatest survivability and highest HP to bring tough skin. Every other turn, you're going to be able to, put this buff on an ally that has less than 30% HP. So if one of your ally got hit low, your tanky hero is going to protect it pretty well for the next turn. Now, this is, a double-edged sword because sometimes, like, it's actually going to kill your own hero if you're not careful. So, for example, you put on something like Mamook, right? Mamook is going to be able to tank a lot of hits, but even if it has immortality up, and then now it's got tough skin on ally, this damage transfer can actually kill him, even though he has immortality up. So you got to be really careful about which heroes you put this on. So some of the best heroes to put this on is probably Nordak is a great choice. Um, even, I mean, Catherine I usually pick speed, but maybe in some variations you could put cat put it on Catherine as a possible option. Uh, I've actually in PvP this is quite common to pick this emblem because it stops the enemy, especially when they do multi hits. Things like Lucifer, Tifia, it's going to proc this quite often. It helps you keep a squishy hero alive. Um, so that's a good PvP option. So I think this is a good segue to talk about, what are some emblems you do want to pick in a PvP setting instead of a PvE setting. And we do have two sets of emblems, so a lot of time you might want to have a second set of emblem on your hero for PvP use. For example, Pauline is a great example of that. I do have two different set of emblems on him, one for PvP and one for PvE content, and they also have different gear for it. So in PvP, here are some of the stuff you want to pick up. So effect resistance become very relevant. So down your defense tree, you usually want to pick the things around effective resistance. Now, healing when ally dies to help survivability is actually a pretty important one. So for example, on defense, Nita, right? So if your Nita can go and wipe out the enemy team, it's a Nita versus Nita situation. You automatically gotta win on defense. So when your allies are dying and then you're gaining additional health, this is really helpful. Like on Luna, for example, if you're using Luna on PvP, this is a must pick for Luna, and Luna is going to revive your heroes back. As your allies are dying, Luna is just going to get additional health and stay alive from the nukes. So, and Luna also have self very high effective hits. So this is also benefit by effective healing effectiveness as well. Control effectiveness. So this is straight up 12% chance for you to resist a control effect. So this is additional 12% as a multiplicative factor on top of the standard effective hit resistance check. So you know, this is pretty big in term, if RNG shines on you, this is the emblem that does it for you for control effective res. Um, and I think that covers it for PvP in the defense tree. In the support tree, there is one that's becoming a lot more relevant now, which is turn meter reduction. Given how relevant how often Popper and Bunny shows up in the meta now. Taking less turn meter reduction is helpful. 15% is not a lot, but often when it comes to, racing your opponent, having this additional 15% could be very impactful to make sure that your panda actually does go, or your space does go after getting that turn meter reduction. So I will highly recommend in a PvP situation to pick up this emblem as well. So hopefully this is a very comprehensive explanation of all the different emblems. When you want to use them, there's a couple I would never pick. So for example, damage reflect is useless. Healing every wave is kind of useless. Sacred Wind is kind of useless. But pretty much every other emblem has a use in the game. So depending on the role that your hero fulfills, one of these emblem combinations will be perfect for you. So hopefully you learned something as you walk away from this video. If you like the content that I do, please support me by subscribing and liking and comment below. If you have any questions about Emblem, feel free to post in the comment sections below or reach out to me on Discord. We have a great community. We are part of the largest community of guilds in Infinite Magicraid, and we have new players joining us almost every single day or every single week. So come check us out on Discord. Gandalf out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.